are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. It's so good to have you here. You can find this show on any of your favorite podcast platforms. There's the art, looks like that. You got Apple Podcasts, you got Spotify, you got all the rest. Anywhere you want to find it, you can check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Well, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name's Austin Savage, and I'm here with my good friend and business partner, Kelsie Zarko. Kelsie, hello. Happy Friday as we're recording this.
Yeah, today is Friday for us.
How are you?
I am good. I am looking forward to a weekend.
I know, right? We've earned it. We have earned this one, and it feels good.
We really have. Not that you always have to earn your weekends, but I feel like I've left it all on the mat. I'm done.
I love it. We have got a great episode for you today, all about repurposing content, which is something that is very valuable when it comes to a consistent content marketing strategy. But as always, we got to start off with our this or that for the day. And Kelsie, you've got it for us today. I have no idea what it is. I'm nervous.
It's just very exciting and very fancy. No, it's not at all. It's very simple. Pen or pencil.
Oh my gosh. Pencil. Absolutely. Writing with a pen is one of the most stressful things in the entire world.
Really? I don't think I knew this about you. Okay.
I know
you used a pencil, but
yes, I would typically see. This is interesting because I look over here at my little pen holder, and it's just pens in there. Just a bunch of pens.
Okay. Well, maybe
I just lied.
Yourself wrong.
Yeah, maybe I just lied. But now that we have Remarkables, it's basically like writing in pencil. So
yeah. Do you use the pencil option on the Remarkable?
I do not. I use the ballpoint pen option.
See, I don't think you're a pencil person.
I just lied. I thought that was the answer. What would you say?
That's awesome. Well, I always just picture you writing in your little field notes books that you had. And I think you did use a pencil for a lot of those.
That is true.
I am a pen person if I'm going to like write a note or a card or, whatever. But in my planner, I use I set my 5 priorities of the day and I use a pencil. And it's very important to me that it's a pencil. And I don't know why, but it is.
But you don't ever erase it?
Well, every now and then, but not really. No, I just like the feel of the pencil. I don't know. It has to be sharp. We have a pencil sharpener in our schoolroom. I mean, it's a whole thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, we homeschool, so I don't know that we'd have a pencil sharpener if we didn't homeschool.
Totally.
But I don't use the pencil option on my Remarkable either. So
you use ballpoint pen?
Did this podcast just turn into a Remarkable commercial? I don't know. I use the marker on thin.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that was an option. I tried
them all.
I think that's what our other business partner, Mitch, does. I think he uses marker as well.
I'll
ask him on the next episode because he'll be on the next episode. So
that would be great. You can let me know.
All right. Anyways, as we just went on a way too long rant about pens and pencils, now talking about how does that transition to a conversation about repurposing content? I don't know that it does, but we're going to do it.
I don't know that it does. So let's just move on over.
But a couple things. We just want to give you some examples today about what repurposing content looks like and also just kind of why repurposing content is a good idea in the first place. So I have just a little list here of why repurposing content is a good idea because I think sometimes for people, it can feel a little bit like, oh, this either feels like it's less meaningful. Some people might feel like it's almost like cheating a little bit because it almost feels like, if I'm going to create content, it has to be this completely new kind of thing. And they put more pressure on themselves than they need to in a lot of those circumstances. And we want to talk a little bit about that. So anything kind of upfront that you would say, Kelsie, or anything that you see when it comes to kind of the repurposing conversation overall?
I would just say, beyond the points we're going to get into in a minute, I see people, even before I was like a partner in a marketing agency, I watched people that I follow do it and I never thought twice about it. I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot that they told me that. I'm really glad they reminded me or, whatever that was. So I hope that this episode helps people kind of take that that view off where they're thinking like, this is wrong, this is cheating, this is breaking the rules, this is taking the short way out, and sees it
Right.
as what you can give value to people still.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about like why it is a good idea. The first thing I wrote is just you get more mileage out of one message.
Hmm.
I think just like you said, just now, oftentimes like people, not always, but you kind of like think, oh, like everybody is seeing all of these things from me. And the reality is like people are busy. They are, going about their lives. And even sometimes if they see a post from you, they might not, internalize it as much as other people.
Hmm.
And so being able to share the same message in different ways is actually very helpful in, helping people understand and remember that message than just doing it like one and done
Hmm.
for that. Anything you would say
Yeah.
on that?
I think it also gives you more mileage in building trust because people are
Yeah.
coming to your whatever the content engine is that you're talking about, and they're seeing the same thing in different ways. And so that builds just like that consistency factor of like, okay, this person is the same and the messaging is the same, even if it's in a different way. So
Right.
yeah, you get more bang for your buck that way.
Yeah, it becomes clear like this is what they're about,
Hmm.
in some ways. Totally. Like we just said, people don't see every piece of content on every platform that you put something out on. So, for example, one person might see an email from you, but somebody else might not see that and enjoy seeing that same style of content over on social or on your podcast,
Hmm.
something like that. So everybody is not all the time seeing every piece of content you put out. The third thing that I put on our list is that new is not always better, but consistency always is better.
Yes.
Yeah. What would
Amen.
you say on that, Kelsey?
I am just kind of like thinking as we're talking that new isn't always better. Consistency is always a win. That's true. And I think new isn't always better because the people that are in your audience are going to be in different places on their buyer journey or their customer
Yeah.
journey or however you want to phrase that. So instead of like hitting them with a whole new thing that they need to then like move through, instead you can
Hmm.
hit them, not hit them sounds aggressive. You can reach them at different points with the same message. And so then we're gonna lose this point. But new isn't always better. People might need to hear the same thing in different seasons of their life, and it's going to resonate in different ways
Yes.
to bring it back.
Now let me hit you with point number 4 here. Uh,
But psh,
I'm just kidding. I 100% agree. The another thing here that I did put is that sometimes the message that you want to share is something that you have shared before. As you think about like, oh, this is something that for us, like we say all the time that content performs on a human level. So sometimes it can feel like, oh, well, we've said that before, but like I want to talk about content marketing. But at the end of the day, like that's our vision as a company is, and so it's okay for us to keep kind of repeating that in a lot of our content because we do want our audience to internalize that
mhm,
message, even if to us it feels like we say that phrase a lot.
mhm.
I think that's important that even if it feels like you have shared this before, that doesn't mean that you can't say it again.
Absolutely. The people, if you stop and think about the people that you love to follow, or if I said a certain name to you, you would probably be able to say, like, oh, yeah, they're about blah, blah, blah. Like you'd have like
Yeah.
a couple, 3 or 4 words. And it's probably because they've repeated a lot of that content to you to solidify their message in your mind.
100%. Absolutely. All right. Last thing, just of why repurposing content is okay, why this is an okay thing for you to do, is that this can actually be a really good part of an integrated content strategy. So, we have talked about this in past episodes before about what an integrated content strategy is. And in just general terms, it just means that you are connecting your different platforms together. You're talking about your blog in your emails, you're talking about your social presence on your blog, those kinds of things, so that people can get connected to you in multiple places. And we just did this for a client. We'll talk about it in a second, but we took a social caption and used it as email content for a client recently. And what we were able to do then is say, I recently shared this on social. We're able to link that
Hmm.
so that people can, potentially go over and engage with her on social, but then just the email continued to say, but I wanted to share it with you here as well, since I believe in this message. And then we repurpose that content there. So I think that can actually be a really helpful thing to communicate to people that they can connect with you in multiple places.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I know that the way I consume content varies. And sometimes, like there's a difference in how I scroll, and look at a reel quick versus like I have my coffee. Well, I don't have my coffee right now because Whole30, but I have my coffee
It's very sad.
and I just for any listeners out there who are making some strange health decisions in January, it's fine. We're all together. Anyway, I'll scroll something very quickly and take it in. Whereas I'll sit with my coffee and read a long, newsy email. And so I think it is
Yeah,
even great to respect your audience in the way of saying, like, I'm giving you multiple avenues to connect with me however you like to. And it's just a sweet thing to do.
totally. I love it. All right. So let's give some practical ways and some practical examples of what repurposing could look like. Literally, this list could be like 100 things long.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not us being like, this is how you do it. But these are some examples just to give you some ideas and to make your life maybe even a little bit
Yeah.
easier, to help you start thinking of like when you create a piece of content, it's actually very helpful for you to be thinking, what else could I use this content for? And to let that almost be just a lens that you're approaching your overall content strategy with. So,
Mm-hmm.
Kelsie, we sort of just talked about this one, but you want
Yeah.
to take the first one?
Yeah. So the first idea as you're repurposing content that you can think about is turning a social caption into email copy. We do this for several of our clients because, like you said, it's a great way to
Yeah.
mention your social, connect them there. Typically, social copy can also be very similar to email copy, like just a short, quick way to say hello and kind of
Mm-hmm.
mention something that's on your mind before you maybe jump into like at the bottom of that email. We didn't just leave it as the social caption. There's,
Totally.
some calls to action and links to blogs and like other things, which
Mm-hmm.
is a whole nother point we'll get into.
Yeah.
So it's just a great way to repurpose something that is important to you or that is a big part of your message into an email body and then kind of build it from there.
Totally. Especially for those longer captions. I mean, it is perfect. It's like
Yeah.
built for it. And that email
Mm-hmm.
performed very well. And so just
Wonderful.
was exactly what I like to see. But
So proud.
second thing is literally just reposting things that have been posted before. That is another
Mm-hmm.
way to repurpose some older content. You might have something that you shared 4 to 6 months ago that did really well, and sometimes it's okay to just take that same graphic and a very similar or even the same caption and just put it back out there and see how it does again. That's a
Mm-hmm.
very real option for that. Obviously, you don't want to be posting the same thing like very close together. But a lot of times, I know for we have a client that we've been managing social for now like a couple years, and
Mm-hmm.
there are a few posts that over those couple years we've probably recycled 3 to 4 different times because every time we share it, it just connects with new people
Yeah.
and is a good reminder that the audience appreciates. So
Mm-hmm.
that is another a
Yeah.
very real way to repurpose content as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of times I hear people say, like, I just, especially for social media, I'm not sure what to post on my social. Like, it is a typically more continuous thing that you need to post. Like maybe you do a blog post a week, but maybe you're trying to post like 4 social posts a week. That is just a
Yeah,
lot more volume to keep up with. And so I love to go back and sort like top performing posts and see like what really resonated and then just share it in a different way. Maybe it was a reel that reached a lot of people that were outside your followers. And then you can repurpose it into a carousel that maybe will be directed more at your followers, but that message still clearly resonated. So
totally.
take something and flip it into the other, whether it's a reel to a carousel, a static post that you could put into a reel. There's just so
Yeah,
many options that you could do with that.
totally. Yeah, I love that, and we've seen that work well. Also, just where we're like, oh, that message really connected in this graphic, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can try it over a video, this time or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. I
Definitely.
love that. You do this a lot, Kelsie, but another idea is that you can like test some messages in your stories, and then if something connects there, use it as a static post later on.
Yeah.
So you can share an encouragement or a piece of advice or a tutorial kind of in your stories of
Mm-hmm.
like something about your life or your business or whatever. And then later on, if you get some engagement on that, that's a good signal of, oh, this is probably great kind of fodder for content that I can use in a more permanent place, like on
Yeah.
the feed.
I think doing that on your stories too can give you great content to repurpose for the like personal side of
Yeah.
what you're sharing about. Like maybe your content pillars have some pretty specific like education and industry components, but then a lot of times what you're going to find like I don't talk about food or health on my personal account. I talk about mom life and homeschooling,
Yeah.
but I probably got the most DMs this month when I talked about my extreme dislike of nut pods. And so that would have been a great like funny piece to turn into like a fun reel or a
Yeah.
picture, and would have definitely resonated. So we also have seen this for clients. Like we have one client who educates around like hair care, and so she'll
Yeah.
show how to do something in her stories, and then you can even save yourself the work. And if you felt like it was up to par on how you want it to look, you can save that story and just re-upload it as a reel, so you're not
Right.
even having to film it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of options there too.
Totally. Genius. Pure genius. Another great idea, not necessarily on the social side, but something that we have done is if there is a specific article that has performed well in the past or kind of is conducive to this. Oftentimes for some clients, we will do like annual updates of that piece of content. So for one of our clients, they have an article about their industry and how it connects to taxes. And so each year we rerun that. So last year we did, the 2022 update, and, just put that kind of in the title of the article. And this year we will freshen up the content a little bit, add anything new that needs to be adjusted, and call it the 2023 update. And it's evergreen content that does always apply to people, but it's updating it and rerunning it in a way that is most helpful to them that year. That is another great way to repurpose content as well.
Mm-hmm.
What else,
Definitely.
Kelsie? What else we got?
Well, if we hop back over to social media chat,
Love it.
using comments from social media as article copy. Austin, I know you actually have a good story about this.
I do. Yes, one of our clients who supports the foster care community, they shared a post a little while back, just asking foster parents specifically of some of their just funniest stories in supporting the foster care community. And just like things that they'll never forget or things that make them smile as they reflect on it. And it was like one of their most highly engaged with pieces of content.
Mm,
And they looked at that and saw that's the perfect opportunity to repurpose that content, and they created an article of just like 10 funny stories from foster care that you should hear this week. And that was a great way to integrate those two types of content, because they were talking about how these stories came through their Instagram and their Facebook.
mm-hmm.
But it also was just a great way to compile those stories and actually help their audience in a lot of ways to be able to go back and you read it in a more kind of
Yeah.
organized and conducive way.
Mm-hmm.
And the article itself performed very well also. So that was another just great example of seeing the opportunity in some of those stories that were shared to kind of reshare them in a more organized format.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
It was fun.
Another option, let's talk specifically to like people with podcasts,
Yeah.
is to be using your podcast content for more than just your podcast.
Hmm.
Obviously, we would encourage you to be sending out that podcast as an email, or having show notes as a blog piece on your website, but then even repurposing it right after the episode, or even going back. Sometimes we have gone back through episodes or video content
Yeah.
from our clients and share a clip as a reel, or share a compelling quote from the episode onto your
Mm-hmm.
social, and tying all that together. That is a great way to integrate and repurpose at the same time.
Totally. Yeah. And sometimes, you mentioned this as well, but sometimes that can be shared in a way that's disconnected from the original kind of piece as well. Sometimes you're
Mhm.
sharing that saying, hey, this is a clip from this podcast, go, check it out. But sometimes it's like, this is just a great piece of advice. You
Mhm.
can clip that video or use the audio, whatever, just to share advice and repurpose, part of a conversation as well.
Yeah,
It's
it can
always
stand
good.
alone. Mhm.
Yeah. Another option that you can do is repurpose a blog as a like Twitter thread or even just like a LinkedIn post. Oftentimes it's going to be shorter than what you shared in the blog, but if you have something that's like 5 ways to be better at fill in the blank, that's great content to create a thread or just a quick post for platforms like those, where you can just kind of walk through each of those kind of 5 points that people can engage with and just read in a little bit of longer form, spending more time engaging with your content there as well. So that's always an option too.
Mm-hmm. You could even take those another idea, same high performing blogs and turn them into podcast episodes. I think that you had some experience with this with one of our past clients.
Yeah, totally. We before I launched the agency, we did this quite a bit with it was called the 95 podcast, but it was a podcast for church leaders, and we had weekly blogs that we would put out. And I know on a couple of different occasions, for our weekly podcast as well, there would be times where we would look at, hey, this blog performed really well. Like, let's just walk through these 5 points in an audio format for the people who prefer this platform. And,
Yeah.
even for some of that like annual content, like whenever we would talk about like your Easter service or something like that, we would go back, and we knew, this is kind of back to some of our first points, but we knew that like the things we wanted to say were the same that we've said in the
Mm-hmm.
past. So we just pulled an old blog and just walked through some of the points in that too. So a lot of times what you have taken the time to write does make, really good. It's a really great foundation for something like a podcast too.
Yeah, I love that. We have one more idea for you today. Hopefully, you've been taking notes and have lots of inspiration. But if you have guides or courses or PDFs, things like that you use for your industry, your business, you can repurpose these in so many ways. The one that comes to mind for me is we have a client, that hair care client, who made a course showing how to do each step of her specific hair care. And we clip videos out of that all the time because they're beautiful and they're highly produced.
Totally.
And like we spent the time coming up with that. And so they're really fun to just clip a video out of and put a tip on top of it or something like that. And that content has stood alone outside the course very well for her.
Totally. That is a great example. I love it. So all of those things to kind of culminate in just saying that it is okay to repurpose content. This is not a lazy way to do content marketing. This is just acknowledging that you have put a lot of thought into the messages that you want to share. And a lot of the things that you have shared before are still very valuable for the people that you are trying to engage with and reach. So it's okay to take inspiration from, or to, reshare something that has been shared before in a way that is going to give continued value to your audience, or give that value to somebody who interacts with you on a different platform than it was originally shared. So we hope that's helpful this week, and we will see you right back here on the next episode of Marketing Should Be Fun.